All right, so hi, everyone. I am, yeah, great. I am Carrie Parker Davidson. I'm here on behalf of the Friends of Duane Park, and with me is Signe Nielsen, who, yeah, you can come and it's a small group.
It's so crowded. up
Yeah,
here.
it's so crowded.
I don't know if there's room.
So, in person, which is, so I'm Carrie Parker Davidson. I'm the president of Friends of Duane Park. With us is Signe Nielsen, who is the landscape architect who has been working with Friends of Duane Park for 20 odd years now. And also Patrick from Elon Flowers, who is, very involved with the Friends and part of our focus group. So he's here in person. I imagine there are people online from the focus group tonight as well. So, do you want to pull up the slides for the people who are online, please? So tonight is basically just an update. The first time we came to community board was in 2021. So just to put it in perspective, we've been working on this project for now 4 years. If you don't know where Duane Park is, and for people who are online, it's at the corner of Hudson and Duane Streets. It is named for James Duane, which was the city's first mayor. And it was a small triangular plot that was created when the two city maps got laid down and created this triangular space. And Trinity Church, in honor of its general council, decided to deed this little triangle of space to the city parks department for public park use in honor of Mayor Duane after he passed. So that was 1797. So the park is 220, almost 228 years old. The project itself is to basically turn asphalt. You can go to the next slide, please. Thanks so much. So that's an image of the park. If you've walked through, just to sort of remind yourself of where you are, but that's the entrance looking from Hudson Street to the west down Duane. All right, and it's our mission there. All right, turning asphalt into greenery. So this is our project. The decal that we've put down actually each September now for the last couple of years shows you the original historic footprint from 1797. Okay, and the area that is no longer park was demapped from parkland to DOT right of way in the 30s or 40s. Okay, and the project is basically to reclaim that asphalt and return it to parkland. So next slide. So the goal, restore the historic footprint, returning asphalt to park-like use, and create additional resiliency. So it adds 1,635 square feet of greenery, tree canopy, increases stormwater capture, reduces heat island effect, and slows vehicular traffic calming effect. Okay, so those were the project goals. They still are the project goals. If you could go back one slide for a second, 2 slides. Yeah. Okay, so in the asphalt that became the DOT right away, where you see the city bike stations there in the back, in an earlier design, and we've gone through this presentation once before here, so I didn't redo the whole thing, but where the city bikes are now used to be sidewalk. And when we pulled the community back in September of 23, the project was, oh, we'll restore the sidewalk and we'll add a tree. Great. But then the community said, wait a second, for that amount of money, shouldn't we get more resiliency for the spend? So now if you'll fast forward to the next slide. And the next slide. So we polled the community and basically what they said is instead of adding the sidewalk on the southern or the lower section of that drawing, we'd rather make it all greenery. There's no sidewalk there now. There's no desire to have a sidewalk there. We'd rather have additional planting and more resiliency. So we conducted a poll, and next slide. which we presented to you the last time we were here. So these are the slides from the community board meeting from September 24th, where we gave you the results of the slide, of the poll. You can go to the next slide. So it was, 80%, and the poll kept going. I think we ended up with closer to 420, 430 votes. But anyway, it skewed the same, 78% or 80% greenery. 20% said, oh, history is more important than resiliency. And 4% said, I don't want any construction on my block. Please don't rip anything. So that was how the polling went. That was our update from 2024. Next slide. So we came back to you. So the original resolution, July of 21, restore the sidewalk. Updated resolution 2023, no sidewalk, community wants resilient greenery. Next slide, please. So that's where we were a year ago, or a year and a couple of months. And we were supposed to come back. I've had it in my calendar to come back every September to the community board because I believe in the function of a community board and public engagement. Here's what's
Sorry,
happened.
quick question.
Yeah.
Was that second resolution passed?
Yes.
Said proposal was
Yes,
passed.
yes, that was passed by CB1. So while we were here in September, Eric, you asked, what's the cost effect of that change? And I said, I don't have that exact number, but we're gonna call it out anyway. So we said, okay, we have to get shovel ready. So let's do a utility survey. So we did. We invested in a full utility survey of Duane Street. We spent $20,000 to get that information. And we established a focus group so that we had sort of real-time community feedback. So those are the fastballs. And this analogy maybe is awful because it's not even spring and it's really cold. But let's go to the next baseball analogy. Sorry for the slide. This is the Langen survey, which I know you can't read. So if you go to the next slide, there we go. So this is the current park. Let me just point it out on the pointer, but here is the current extent of the park. This is the historic footprint of the park. And so all the green would be where the revised design would show greenery. So it would maximize the greenery on the historic footprint. We learned that there's a gas line. We learned where the cable TV infrastructure is. We have shared it with buildings on the block so that they don't have to spend the money. So we're getting ourselves to be like shovel ready and super excited. Next slide. Then we got some curveball. When we came to you in 2021, the Borough Commissioner for Parks was Bill Castro. He was on board, but of course the Adams administration was coming in, so on board, but the new commissioner will have to sign on. New commissioner comes in for Manhattan, Anthony Perez, terrific, on board. Where does the money come from? So we'll talk about that in a second. And then he left to go to DOT up in the Bronx and passed it on to Tricia Shimamura. Okay. We gave her a presentation in September of 2024 on this project. Next slide, please. We'll get to the DOT. This is what Anthony Perez's team contributed to the discussion. The cost that Eric was asking about, $1.7 million. The Parks Department takes a holistic approach to the whole project. So just doing the green bulb out process, they wanted to look at the park holistically. And so this is their cost estimate. Next slide. DOT threw us a curveball. So DOT, in looking at the design, that's the full historic footprint on their public realm proposal, wanted crosswalks added at the apex of the park.
Way to point when they talk.
Yes, or a pointer maybe. This is where you actually should probably take over, Sydney, because you understand this
There
part.
is that pointer there.
Yeah, I know.
That just controls the slide.
She can do it on here.
So there's the crosswalk.
Yes, so DOT suggested that we add a crosswalk at the western apex. And that we create a sort of pedestrian plaza outside of Laughing Man as sort of a plaza there.
Like a curb extension, like.
It would be, so like a quick curb and the idea was that the park, that would encourage that vehicular traffic to have to make a right-hand turn. And having to make a right-hand turn would slow them. And because it's a right turn, they have to yield to pedestrians. Okay. However, Sydney explained sort of there's lots of concerns about it, but do you want to take the line of sight and some of the safety issues that?
Well, under DOT's regulations, any crosswalk has to be controlled. And that control is either a stop sign or a traffic signal. And it's very confusing when a car is crossing diagonally, even though it's a kind of a right turn that isn't completed until after they cross the crosswalk. So this, to my mind, is not a safe crosswalk.
So anyway, and so all design is iterative and we have a good relationship with DOT and the folks there. But we took this to our focus group to say, okay, here's a curveball for us. And we met and nobody on the block, nobody in the focus group, we're about 30 people. Nobody likes this plan. So we tried to come up with another solution or that we could take back. And so if you go to the next slide. So this is our focus group. We got together December 9th. And just one quick thing before I go into this. When we met with Parks Commissioner Tricia Shimomura, she said it was a great meeting. Councilmember Marte was on it, Ed Pinkar was on it. Tricia was on it and Ralph from Ralph Mussolino, who's operations guru and very familiar with Wayne Park. We've worked together for 25 years. So we went through it and because it's DOT right of way, Tricia was, you've got to work this out with DOT before Parks can take the next step. So we then took it to the focus group in December. And if you'll now go to the next slide. So we showed them the public realm proposal. And these are out of order, but anyway, that maybe go to our next one. Yeah, so at the focus group, we said, okay, let's see if we can address some of these pedestrian issues. How could we do that? All right, if the concern is how pedestrians are flowing through the park, we can add a raised crosswalk so that you can exit. There's a speed bump, raised crosswalk, which would slow traffic down. It could be at grade level, so there's an ADA benefit to that. And it would link up to 165 Duane Street on the other side. So the focus group liked that recommendation. When you get rid of the sidewalk, that would encourage people to go to the west, and you would make that green so that now all pedestrian flow through the park has a real entry and exit point that is pedestrian friendly. So then we asked Sydney to draw that up for us. Please, the next slide. And she did. So this is what that would look like. And this is the consensus plan from the focus group. So we met December 9th, and then Sydney drew up the plan for us and we met again last week. And the focus group is on board for, this is our consensus plan. All right. We did entertain should be the next slide. This is zooming out so that you can see it from the same perspective as public realm. So there is still that open piazza feeling, but it's not as pronounced as it was. There's no pedestrian exit into that open piazza spot. And all the pedestrian flow goes either on an existing sidewalk or a raised crosswalk that links them. Okay. We toyed with another alternative to try and find a solution that works for DOT. The solution would require moving the northern sidewalk further north, adding a crosswalk in the middle of the piazza, and some sort of concrete triangle with a traffic directional to tell cars which way to go. And that's what that would that's a rudimentary version. Signy, of course, made it look better. We presented this to the focus group, and the focus group is not on board. It's sidewalk it's just more sidewalk. It has a resilient component, but the ballpark estimate, just back of the napkin from DOT, is that a block redesign is about a $10 million project.
A 10?
$10 million project. So, we went from the original proposal in 2021, where we thought we could self-fund this. And if Alice is on here, she'll remember, she'll say, aren't you gonna want any money from electeds? And I said, no, I think we can do this. It was a $500,000 project, not a $10 million project. So that is the update. I think all I have next is just sort of next steps. So that, questions?
So thanks for the update. I'm sure there are questions. I have a few, so let's make this as orderly as possible. We'll start in the room. Anyone? Jess?
So what's the traffic control, and would it be with the raised crosswalk on the north side of Dwayne?
Keep that one.
What is we don't know what traffic control they would use.
Because there's a stop sign at Hudson there, right?
There's a stop sign, there's a traffic light at
There's
Hudson
a traffic light.
on both forks of Hudson.
Outside.
Uh-huh.
Exists.
But the traffic control, so let's say that, first of all, the focus group of the community does not support alternative 2. DOT does not support alternative 1 or the consensus. So we have, we will follow up, and Marte has been eager to work with us and is setting up, continued meetings, et cetera. So it's not like the project is dead. I will say that the neighbors are very clear that a traffic light, there's no interest in creating a pedestrian plan in order to then increase the likelihood of a traffic signal. Does that answer your question?
Yes. What was besides the safety issue that you brought up on the DOT plan, why did people not like that? Because it seems more natural. Well, people walking west, I mean, as you know, right now, people just walk into the street coming out of the park, right? Walking west.
Because that's where the sidewalk takes.
And, right.
Right.
So
If
would
the
it be natural
sidewalk,
to have-
so if the sidewalk ended here, then the natural place for them to cross is at 165 Duane, and they can continue.
Yeah, but people want to walk west and they're gonna turn twice. I mean, it's better than what exists. I get what you're saying. I like the idea of having a connection west, and then you create the plaza too.
Well, you're not creating a pedestrian plaza, you're creating an adjacent, an enlarged area for Laughington.
Yeah.
Let's be clear, it would benefit a single business on the block.
Yeah, I understand.
And a plaza, if you're going to pedestrianize asphalt for the park.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah. No,
So I have a quick question,
Yeah,
and it's perhaps a 2 or 3 part question.
sure.
So is it correct that in this consensus plan, what appears in this red dotted line is what exists today?
Correct.
So right now, the flow of traffic is what is shown here.
Yes.
Yes,
It's foot traffic.
foot traffic. However, no, if you go back to the focus group, iteration, go back to
I'm sorry.
slide, I believe. This one.
No.
One more.
More
The other direction.
to the direction.
There. Yeah, that one. See where it says no sidewalk?
Yeah.
Right now, there is a sidewalk there. Now it ends at the red line.
I get
Yeah,
it, but in
okay.
terms of how people move through the park, this is
Yes.
an accurate depiction.
Correct.
So that was the first part of the
Yeah.
question. Can we go back to the other where we were for a second? So now, here with this, I guess, black line,
Yes.
that's all fenced in, which means people are gonna move direction
Same
through
way.
the
Exactly. There's no
Exact same way.
change.
They want a crosswalk here, which whether you're extending this or not, I could argue, if you really felt you needed a crosswalk, there should have been one there historically. Because I don't see what extending this, given that it's fenced off, I'm not sure how that changes behavior of foot traffic. Am I missing something?
No, you're absolutely right.
We have Alice on the line.
Okay,
People just walk across without the crosswalk and they
But-
get
but
to
they've
the
been doing that.
sidewalk on this.
Yeah.
I know, but now, under this proposed plan, there wouldn't be a sidewalk on the north side.
That would dump them into the western
Right.
asphalt area. So in that way, it's a safety improvement.
it is.
Now-
Right.
Right. I'll play the devil's advocate from DOTs because we've had lots of conversations. They think that you need more pedestrian improvement. They're planning for 70 years in the future, not 20 years of the past practice. What I keep saying is, well, then show me the data that says we have so much pedestrian flow in this area that you're projecting the need for additional sidewalk. I'm projecting the need for additional resiliency. I don't have data that shows me that we need
Well, you were just talking
additional
about the new tower
pedestrian
putting there.
stuff. What's that?
You were just talking about, Richard, the new tower they're gonna be putting there, so they are expecting a lot more people.
So, but there's already, I haven't seen anything that would indicate that the current sidewalks are insufficient for any additional flow of traffic.
So we have questions online. Let's go online. Alice?
Oh, thanks. I'm just catching up a little bit, looking at I have a tiny screen, but first of all, Carrie, thanks. My God, you are indefatigable. I guess I think I'm catching up as to. I guess my question to Carrie is, first of all, not since 2021, but this park has come to us with resolutions since 1996 was the first resolution, because I happen to have a little file here, and I realized, wow. Catherine Freed had got money for this park back then. So this is definitely a jewel and one that needs whatever attention you think it needs. But I guess I'm confused from your perspective, and I can see this must be very disappointing because I'm seeing that this was a radical change, somewhat radical. What is it that you really would like to see at the end of the day? Is this plan the one, the consensus plan? Is this what we're fighting for now?
This is what the stakeholders on the block and the focus group have agreed on. This is what Friends of Dwayne Park is advocating. Do we feel strongly about a raised crosswalk? Not necessarily, but if it helps with the DOT pedestrian flow, and it does help with ADA compliance because because you would have a level crossing between 165 and the park, which is good. But yes, we're asking for a more resilient, a quiet oasis that's resilient. Yes.
Well, so the gain here is the 1,000 odd square feet beyond the red line of some
Yes.
amount of green, right? Which is up on this corner here, where the relocated high, okay. So
Right.
that's the main gain from the park perspective, is that right?
Yes, so this does two things on mission. What it does is it returns the park to the historic footprint, so it preserves the history.
Yeah.
And it adds resiliency. So the win is both historic preservation and history.
Right,
I mean, and resilience.
right.
So yes, it's the western nose and the southern, line, the southern perimeter.
And then what is the cost of that? Because I know you priced this out. So what is the cost now and who is going to be paying for that?
Let's add to that question. What's the cost of each of the three alternatives? If we could.
Three alternatives. There's only,
Yes, there's the DOT
yeah,
and the preferred.
correct. And I think those are the two
The
alternatives.
original was 1.7.
Yeah, so this, now Parks will probably have to update that CNE because it's now a year or two old. And we're now, the sidewalk on the north has changed a little bit, so they'll have to update the CNE. But let's assume that it's a little bit more. So let's say it's 2 million instead of 1.7. Funding, the hoped for funding plan was that each of the Friends of Dwayne Park would kick in $500,000, Parks would kick in $500,000, and we would ask Marte's office and the borough president to match those. So it would be 2 million raised between those parties.
Okay, so it really is a 1.5 million of public dollars to this park now, right?
Yes.
Versus earlier iterations. Okay, I really appreciate you reviewing. I was a little lost in the weeds there, but yeah, thanks very much. Tremendous effort here. Yeah. Okay, I see the
Yeah.
mission. Thank you.
One caveat is, when we made the presentation to Parks, we didn't get around to the question about, could we fund this on our own, because remember the Parks plan includes escalations and mobilization and staffing for design and trucks and stuff that if we privately funded, we may not have to do. But we never got to whether or not they would allow us as a nonprofit to privately do this and ask Signy to make those phone calls on our behalf. So that I don't know, but assume public dollars, it's 1.5 million of public dollars and $500,000 of.
And the cost of the DOT?
That I do not know. That I do not know.
And I'm sorry, any
John,
other
thank you.
questions online? Nothing? Anyone else in the room?
Can I just clarify?
It's Mark Amaruso. I'm on the phone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Let's go to Paul first and then we'll come to you, Mark.
Sounds good.
So are you still in talks with DOT to get to resolve the issue? Because I don't think they're going to approve the plan as it stands. Or is that not?
Yes.
Is Marte intervening to try to come up with another plan that all parties can endorse, or is any kind of discussion continuing along those lines?
We have a very good relationship with both city agencies and we will continue plugging along. And hopefully bring DOT along to the consensus plan. So, I don't know if Chris is on or
Max is on.
Max is on. And I don't know if they want to say anything tonight, but, yes, conversations will continue. It's not giving up yet.
Mark, before we go to Max to see if he wants to comment, Mark Amaruso. don't know if you're on mute, Mark.
Yeah, am I, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. There's a few things. It's hard to visualize some of this. I took a little bit of it. If maybe you could answer some quick questions for me. Are any of these plans, is any traffic lanes being eliminated or parking being eliminated?
Good question, thank you, Mark. If we went with alternative 2 and moved that northern sidewalk, yes, we would remove 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parking spots.
And to clarify,
Mhm.
alternative 2 is DOT.
Is what we would, it is the iteration we tried for DOT, but that's a block redesign, that's the $10 million question.
But the consensus plan does not.
The consensus plan does not affect parking. Thank you, Patrick.
And yeah, because there are a lot of deliveries there. And you got, from what we've seen from DOT lately and the last several years, is you really got to take their quote unquote pedestrian improvements with a grain of salt, because there's underlying hatred towards vehicles and cars. So there's ulterior motives with DOT. So I wouldn't trust them, to be honest with you, and I don't care about saying it publicly anymore. And the other thing about a speed bump, if you live on that street and you are advocating for a speed bump, you're crazy, because you ain't going to get any sleep at night when the trucks and the sanitation trucks and delivery trucks pop over that thing. It just causes a whole racket. It's quote unquote, pedestrian safety. It's couched in that, but it is a quality of life nightmare. You do not want speed bumps, and we should not advocate for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Do you want to talk about the type of raised crosswalk it is with the?
It's I appreciate what you're saying, and there are a number of streets where they just have literally a speed bump. If you'll notice on the plan, you see those 2 black lines on
The crosswalk.
either side of the crosswalk. That is a gradual slope up and a gradual slope down. And that's exactly DOT's standard for what's called a raised crosswalk. This should not be considered a speed table, but rather a raised crosswalk. Now, if somebody goes over it at a very fast speed, then you might hear some rattling.
One,
Mark, anything else before we move on?
I would say whether it's a raised crosswalk or a speed bump, if it's a car, it's fine. But if it's a truck with merchandise in it or a garbage truck, you're going to hear it. So have fun sleeping on that street if that's where you live. So that's all that's all I can warn you about. It's I don't know what else to say.
thanks, Mark. It's Carrie here. I get those phone calls because people have my number from friends at Duane Park. The good news is that the sanitation truck does not currently on their route go over that, because they use the Staple Street entrance. So they don't use the north side. The fire trucks, which are along the south side of Duane Street, they would be coming down that block. So a raised crosswalk to the west would have to deal with both common carriers, sanitation, and the fire department. Putting the crosswalk where we do here, not to say that those vehicles would never go over a raised crosswalk, but based on current patterns, it's less likely. So thank you. We did think about that as we worked through this.
Great. Jess?
City bike dock that's there,
Yes,
what happened to it?
it gets relocated. So earlier on, when DOT, earlier on in the process, DOT had said that they would figure out a place to locate it. We don't have to come up with that.
Yeah.
Having worked on locating city bike docks for a bit.
Block too.
And on that block, and we've had these battles, I think it would be great to have our focus group try and identify a spot. It's beyond the scope of this project unless DOT says, hey, I'd love the community's help in locating the city bike dock. Then we'd be happy to help them. On that block, anyway, so we don't have an answer for you on where it will go. But remember that just around the corner on Reed Street, there is a double wide
And Hudson.
on Hudson and Reed, yeah.
Richard, did you have a comment?
No, it's answered.
Anyone online? So I just want to make sure I can summarize. So we have a consensus plan. That's the result of surveys and focus group. You have a plan put forward by DOT, which involved a crosswalk on the western portion, essentially linking to Laughing Man. And then there are two alternatives, both of which you have put forward. One alternative.
One alternative.
Okay, so there's consensus plan, DOT request, your response to DOT's
Correct.
request. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yes, and sorry, it wasn't as organized as that in my material.
It was organized. I just, last
So-
comment? Go ahead, and then we'll go to the gentleman. in the
Oh.
back. No, you go ahead. Lead first.
So let's assume DOT is stuck on their plan. What's your position with regard to that?
I think there's no neighborhood support for it, so I would just continue to let DOT know that there's no neighborhood support for it and help them find something closer to our consensus. I mean, it's the same thing you do with any sort of, city agency plan that you disagree with. You come back to your community board, you let your elected officials know, you let the agency know that there's no support for it, and either require the data that backs the decision so that everybody can get educated on a, data-driven decision, or I don't know.
From our focus group, you brought up to us that the DOT plan, that their main thing was the traffic flow. And this, our
Vehicular or pedestrian?
vehicular and pedestrian, and this, our consistent plan addresses both of their concerns. It doesn't change the traffic flow at all. It doesn't change the parking at all. And it adds a pedestrian crossing.
And a traffic calming effect by moving the park to the west.
All right, can I go to the gentleman?
Yeah, go ahead.
That's a question.
Sure, all I would say, I live right on the park. I favor this plan strongly. And a couple of things. One is that planning for pedestrian traffic 40 years from now is interesting, and were there to be a big building way off to the west, I find now it's terrifying to get into that, what is called a plaza out there, and I think these people would too, and they would be coming from the north side. So that I suspect that were they to want to enter the park, and we would like to have them, that they would naturally stick to the north sidewalk and cross over into the park. The other thing is that the extension to the west, which has been referred to as 1,000 square feet of green space, or something like that, greenery, would actually contain a couple, well, one and maybe two very large trees, a tremendous improvement and enhancement to the block. And it just, it troubles me to think that the Friends want to do this, that they are willing to raise the money that they can to do it, that the space is there, that the space was historically part of the park, and that somehow will fail.
Because of
It just makes me cringe to think that we would fail, having all the parks right there and having such a desirable outcome.
Thank you. So let's try and wrap this up.
Just one more thing, in the DOT's plan, is part of their idea that it would calm traffic, forcing people to turn right? Like, because currently cars just kind of fly through at south side of Dwayne. Was that part of their idea?
Yes, yes. And,
There would have to be a stop sign
They would
or
have
something like
Yeah.
that.
right, there has to be a traffic.
Stop
Right,
cars.
but they would.
Before they turn right.
Right, but even the turn would naturally slow people down. I'm not saying it's better, I'm just.
Right.
I still think it's dangerous.
Right, it may not be the right solution. We do think, though, that there is vehicular traffic calming provided just by moving, because it looks small there, but it is like 20, 30 feet that you know, so you're visually coming around from Granite Street and you're seeing the greenery much earlier.
Construction.
So you're you're gonna slow so that you can, with Google Maps, make your choice between the left and right.
Absolutely.
That's a natural point of application.
Any other comments? If not,
Good picture.
Are there people online that?
we've been watching.
Huge.
If not, we'll thank Carrie and
We have Rosa.
sorry, Rosa, let's make this the last comment if we can. Rosa?
Thank you guys so much, Carrie. I think this work is amazing, and I'm really excited that, and to the last gentleman's point, I mean, I feel like you've got all the parts there, and I would love to see this coming to fruition, because I know that for us, we've enjoyed all the events that you have there. I've especially enjoyed Groundhog Day. And I think that a larger space of greenery would be a beautiful thing for the entire community. So just want to say bravo.
Thank you.
Thanks,
It's a
everyone.
team effort.
And on that note, to Carrie and team, thanks so much for coming in and updating us. Keep us
We
posted.
will keep you posted.
Obviously, an awful lot of support for the vision there, so
Thank
great
you.
job, and please let us know how we can help with.
Yes, thank you. We will keep you posted.
Great, thanks very much.
Yep.
So
That's just the
If I
rudimentary
could
version
just
that we
take
all looked at.
5
together.
minutes, and again, I'm at
This is
the
what we
moment yesterday
rejected.
presenting this as an update for folks. Within the last probably 3 weeks or so, various groups were notified that a nonprofit organization called P3, which stands for Pier Parks and Playground, they've been a permit holder and nonprofit organization operating at Pier 40 for, I think, close to 25 years. They were informed that they will lose their permit to operate indoor space that they have at Pier 40. And for the better part of 25 years, that indoor space has been actively used to support activities of Greenwich Village Little League and Downtown Little League. There's been a bit of confusion as to the reason behind this action. Initially, it was reported that it was the result of P3 completing unauthorized renovation and work in that space to make it more functional. I think we've since learned that while that may be one of the issues, the more recent statement from HRPT is that that is the best space to be used as staging area for work that they're going to be doing in the garage and that level. So a couple of things have happened. Greenwich Village has sent a letter in requesting reconsideration of this action. Downtown Little League is, if we haven't already, we'll be sending a letter asking for reconsideration. It's on the CB1 Waterfront and Parks meeting, or might have actually already occurred earlier or last week. It's on the Hudson River Park Advisory Council agenda for this coming Monday. I suspect we'll be bringing it to this committee more formally, seeking support in the request to ask for reconsideration. So that's the general update as of right now. Again, the status is that they will lose their permit to operate the indoor space, which again is part of a summer camp program, in addition to supporting the leagues in July. So we'll get through the spring season and part of the summer, but as of July, it will go down, and I don't believe there's been any representation as to if and when they may ever be able to secure that space. So general update. I don't want to spend too much time on this right now, but if anyone has any quick questions or comments, happy to try and address those.
Is that indoor space is where like the batting cages are? And
Yes. Yep, so right now, ourselves, DLL and Greenwich Village are having winter clinics.
Yeah.
Probably a couple hundred kids over each Saturday and Sunday
it was me.
and during the week. So again, it's been a component of operating the leagues for better part of 25 years.
I mean, it seems we need to get real information from Hudson River Park Trust before we really understand what's happening and what the impact is going to be and for how long.
Yeah. Agreed, and I suspect we'll get some of that or more clarity at the advisory council meeting on Monday. There have been, you can imagine, one-off conversations with the trust. And I think that's what's created a bit of the confusion, what people have heard during those one-off conversations. So hopefully we can at least create a common understanding of what's really driving this.
What work are they doing on the garage? We don't,
I don't, just general repairs required. I don't know specifically. I'm sure it's mapped out. I just don't have it committed to memory.
Yeah.
And I don't believe it's just the garage. It might also be other areas on that. Right. Okay.
okay.
So Paul, I think that's it. Motion to adjourn the meeting unless anyone has any other comments.
If you didn't sign in, please do so. Thank you.
Thanks for the update, and I guess we should adjourn, yes.
Great. Have a nice evening.
Inez, can you mark me present from the phone, please?
I did. You're all. Mark.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your help.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.